Episode 6 of the Cascade Locks Court Commission, April 2nd, 2024, 2.0. We're going to start with pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
President Ryan,
I am here.
Vice President Clute. Here. Vice President Davis. Commissioner Nance.
Here.
Commissioner Peterson.
Here.
And Commissioner Tweet is excused.
Excellent. Modifications, additions, and changes to the agenda.
Not this evening.
All right, fantastic. Special presentation and reports from outside resources, staff, and government officials. Easy climb improvements, new trail construction progress update. I think that's you.
All right.
Ted Dodd, Northwest Trail Alliance.
Thank you. Ted Dodd, Northwest Trail Alliance. So, first of all, the question I have for everybody is, how familiar is everyone with the Northwest Trail Alliance? Have everyone heard of us, aware of us? All right, perfect. So that'll actually allow me to speed up a little bit of the presentation, get to the real good stuff. First of all, I think the first statement out in your packets, our thing is that we create and enhance and we create and enhance and protect mountain bike riding opportunities. We advocate for trail access, and we promote responsible mountain biking, and we build, maintain, and sustainable trails that we all enjoy. So that's kind of pretty much, the gist of what we do. We're definitely a proponent of activity and fitness for ourselves and everyone around, youth as well. So the next slide, I'll let you kind of play around with the web links. There's a few on there talking about who Northwest Trail Alliance is. There's an annual report, kind of talks about some of the stats. Some things that people don't realize is that we're a volunteer organization, and as a volunteer organization, we have 5,000 dues paying members, which is pretty big when considered. I always stress dues paying because that means people are serious, not just a Facebook joiner. So that's something to be aware of. The other thing is our territory, and there's a little map that was on that slide, shows we cover a really big area. Cascade Locks is on the outer fringes of it. When you go to Hood River, it actually shifts over to a different group called Hood Rats or H Rats. They do a great job, and they kind of cover a different territory. So we're right on the outer cuffs of that. And then a little bit about the history. So our history with Cascade Locks is that we've been involved out here for over 15 years. We made an arrangement with the prior board commissioners to build Easy Climb out here. They saw the vision of what mountain biking could happen and be in the Cascade Locks area. And so since then, we built the trail that we all enjoy. That was considered phase 1. And I'll talk about what we've got going on and what the overall big picture was. But that was phase 1, that was completed. Since then, we've hosted things like Take a Kid Mountain Bike Day. That's what some of those photos are from. We've also helped bring cyclocross, even though they're a different organization, but we cross-pollinate, riders cross-pollinate across multiple groups. Brought them to Cascade Locks, and they do an annual event out here separate from us. And then we also been maintaining the Easy Climb for the last 15 years. So that's that part of it. Current projects, that's kind of where I really want to focus on and give you guys an update. And so basically current projects as it relates to 2023 and 24. So as you've probably seen on the Facebook group, I've got a Facebook group that I've been maintaining. It's Cascade Locks MTB Trails, which now covers Easy Climb, Trail 400, the new trail we're building, and even Falls Creek. So that's kind of the focus of what that Facebook group is, and it's a running history. So if you ever want to kind of look back and see what we've been doing or what we've been up to, feel free to go back and use. That's the whole purpose of that Facebook group, is to be a running history of our thing, on photos and videos and local things like that. So back 12 plus years ago, we started the whole process, the advocacy process, and then as of 23, we were given a go-ahead with the Forest Service, who owns the land, to start building on the trail that we proposed, as well as we also secured a grant, which is helping to pay for part of the construction, which was also supported by several different organizations, such as Forest Service, Port of Cascade Locks, Northwest Trail Alliance, make it up the groups. So other things we've been doing is, we've been working on with the excitement about building a trail has really brought some attention to Cascade Locks, and that energy has really allowed us to do a lot more work on Easy Climb, which has been great. Get a lot more volunteers on that. We've also been working on Torch Trail section that we got up above. We're also going to be hosting a Lap Quest, which is an event here in Cascade Locks at Easy Climb. It's a 4-hour community event, 4-hour endurance ride is what it is. We're also we've been hosting group rides and building community of local riders that extends not only Cascade Locks, Stevenson, Hood River, and of course Portland folks are coming out as well, which is kind of neat to see all this activity. We've also been hosting training classes for trail building and crew lead. We've had several different training courses along the way. So on to the next. So the new trail, that's kind of the thing that's been really exciting. So as part of this grant, which we secured a $150,000 grant, which is doing a pro build section of the trail, which is about 3 miles. As part of it, we had a match obligation in that grant thing, and that was for us to put in our sweat equity. We far exceeded our grant match part of it by a long ways. And so
I'll just clarify that the requirement was $40,000 in volunteer time was the match requirement. So when he says far, he really means it.
when we're all done, we're producing a value of about $150,000 to $180,000. So the pro build is building their section of trail, which is equal to what ours is, 3 miles, and they're quoting $180,000 to build theirs, and we're doing 3 miles plus in addition to that. So anyway, so it's been really a great success. Been moving that along. We're almost going to we'll be done with this project this summer. So for the short amount of time, a little over a year, we'll have this project from beginning, first shovel of dirt to the completed project.
I've followed you guys on Facebook, and it's been super fun watching the advancement of it. So that's great. I also noticed that it's almost like weekly. They say, "Hey, come out. We're putting in berms. We're doing manual effort and manual work." I guess with that, I see here 1,809 volunteer hours so far. How many people did you get out there on these regular weekends?
It depends on how much notice I give. On the ones that I actually give a lot of notice on, they turn out to pretty good, probably in the 40s of folks. But a lot of shorter notice, it'll be a small 10 person crew type of thing.
Okay.
But yeah, no, and it's really neat too, is that when you look at volunteers, it's not just a small team of people doing it. I mean, my volunteer list is 150 to 200 people that have actually come out and volunteered sometime, even if it's only been one time.
Right.
My partner really enjoys going out there when he can. Chris, I think you worked with him a few times and trained him, so.
Awesome, yes.
Really cool.
Yeah, no, it's great. And that's a big side part of it too, is the community, and then volunteering and leadership that development that comes out of it as well. So one thing on the Cascade Locks, just to know on this trail, is this is actually phase 1, which is circled. There's also a phase 2, which will be off to the right-hand side of that map, so that you know that there's more coming in the future. And there's another trail that's not even shown that has been approved that'll go from the general area of Herman Creek all the way to the Bridge of the Gods. So that's another one. So it's not in sequential order or succession order. So it just depends on what we get to next.
When you say completed in 2024,
Phase 1.
is that purely based on volunteer hours? Do you have any sort of guesstimate on when that will happen?
We'll be done. It'll be rideable. Our section will be rideable by our camp out, which is May 5th. By the time we're done with that, I think that'll be the last part that we'll need to do. But then the pro build will start there at about that time. Right now, the pro builder that's been hired to do this project is currently working on a Forest Service out at Syncline. They're out there right now. So once they wrap up with that, they're gonna jump over and start working. This, and that'll be done in 6 to 9 weeks. So yeah, this will be up and running this summer. So
And are all of these designated MTB trails only, or are they for multi-use?
That's a great question. It's actually multi-use intended, you know, we like to share. So yeah, it's, everybody's able to, access those trails. Including horses as well, so.
And by multi-use, you don't mean dirt bikes, yeah.
Yeah. Pedal operated. Pedal operated.
Non-motorized.
Non-motorized, yes.
So e-bikes not allowed. It's forest land, right?
Forest land, yeah, it all. It's a good question. I haven't really looked into that. I mean, they're typically like, Forest Service land on the east side of Mount Hood. Operated by a different, leadership team over there. That is no e-bikes over there.
Yeah, I was under the impression that Forest Service land, you couldn't use.
Yeah,
bikes.
that's what I heard.
So,
Yeah, it was 3 different classes, I think.
so that's that one. On to the next. Okay, so why to support Northwest Trail Alliance and Cascade Locks? So I'd have to say that Easy Climb is a prime example. By supporting us, we were able to come out and build a trail system that everyone's been able to enjoy. The community's been able to enjoy for the last 15 years and will continue to be able to enjoy. So
Getting it
that's
to be a bigger and bigger attraction in our area, people are discovering it.
it really is.
Kids, I mean, the little kids, parents are discovering it, yeah.
Correct. And then we built that to be family friendly. As it relates to being, there's a different rating of trail systems. That's a green level. The new trail we're building is a blue level, and you know, then of course you have black level. This is kind of like the same rating system you have in the skiing there. But yeah, it's very family friendly for sure. The other thing too is that Cascade Locks is in an area that if we build it, they will come. As it relates to using trails to actually use as an attraction for tourism. I think of Oak Ridge, for example. Oak Ridge was a sleepy, dying logging community that embraced mountain biking, and they built trails, and now it's, you know, a go-to location. They have a lot of tourism business, but it goes to a otherwise small sleepy town. And we're in a great spot for that. Cascade Locks in the terrain offers a unique situation that we have something different than Hood River. Hood River has a lot of flowy, smooth trails because of their terrain, a lot of clay in their surface, in the material that they're building with as it relates to trails. Over here, it's a lot more technical rocks, a lot more obstacles and nature and natural beauty that goes along with background Forest Service land with views of the Columbia River and a really interesting mountain terrain. So we have a lot going for us. So I really imagine that when we build this out, we're going to have a lot more people choosing to stop here versus driving by. So that's a long-term benefit there. It'll take a little while to do it, but once we get it built out, it'll be great. I like to say that building trails builds community and builds leaders. There's a lot to that. But in the interest, I won't go too deep. Promoting health and fitness and confidence on bikes. This definitely applies not only to youth, but also to adults that get into this. It is a continual progression as it relates to development of your skills and abilities. And also as you get older, like myself, I find it important for me to get in shape every spring if I want to have a good year to get out there. So it keeps me going strong. The other thing is too, bikes equals everyone, all ages, genders, ethnicities, fitness levels, backgrounds, economic status. It's really amazing the number of variety of people that can find their way on the bikes. So it's just a willingness to get out there. Okay. Why to support Cascade, Northwest Trail Alliance? Why to support Northwest Trail Alliance and Cascade Locks? The other big thing is for our youth, our local youth. And I think this slide specifically, you know, it has a lot of things in it. First of all, it's a recreation opportunity for kids to out, you know, as an outlet for the kid energy, you know, a place where they can get away. It's an easy place where people can actually get to. Once we build some bike lanes and stuff along Forest Lane, I think it'll be safe to get out there.
Yeah.
That's another quest I have. It also promotes health and fitness. Inexpensive, you don't need a fancy bike to be out there. You can do this as solo, you can do this as a group, and also you can also lead to being involved in NICA, which has been a really interesting program that's been developed, not with Northwest Trail Alliance, totally separate altogether. They're a great organization, I support them. And it's actually, just think of youth basketball, youth leagues, things like that, but it's on wheels. And a great story here too. Holly, a former port staffer, shared a story of a young community member that was having troubles and redirected their energy to the trails that we're building. This is back when we were building this, so it's quite a few years ago. But not only were they out there riding it, but they were out there volunteering. So I thought that was an interesting story to learn about. But once again, it promotes writing skills, personal development, volunteering, and leadership. Leadership for sure. In fact, I warn people when they come out and they're volunteering, I say, be careful, it's addictive.
Yeah.
You'll be out here, you'll be like me, 20 years doing this, so it's something else. Okay. So, as I mentioned, the current Easy Climb is phase 1. Phase 2 was to take it to the next level, which was the development of places where you can continue to develop your skills. That's features, that's progression, obstacles that allows you to start up easy and then continue on to have challenge. That's one thing that makes the big trail system good, is the fact that you keep coming back and feel challenged, not getting bored. Okay, so we accomplished the first division, which is the Easy Climb, and now we're in the process, since we have all this new energy, it's that we're refurbishing and rebuilding. We're doing that right now. You probably know some other berms and churns and jumps have been actually come back to life. We've really cut back vegetation considerably to make sure we get good line of sights. And now we're about ready to go into the next, which is the development of different features. Okay, and then of course there's some great photos of different ways to do it: jumps, skinnies, challenging obstacles to ride. Okay, so the next one. So on this one, this is where we're asking for funding. Where we want to build some features, and some of these features are going to be built with big boulders. We're going to be moving some rock and building some new sections of trail. And so we have that broke out with our requests there. So 14,385 is the total funding request. That includes a contingency, and it's also worth knowing that I'm typically the guy that comes in under budget. So I'm happy to go into the details of that when everyone wants to, but if you go to the next slide, I'll explain a little bit about what some of this is. So the phase 2, there's a question is where would we want to be doing some of these new features and these new section is within the approved area that we've been approved prior, which is between these 2 trail sections. We also have the ability to take advantage of the slight hillside that we have there. And then of course the map to the right actually calls out some of the different types of features that we would do. So progression jumps, and you have another section of technical rocks, and then you have some tabletops, and then once again, everything's progression. So yeah, and of course we would be building this with signage to allow people to know which way to go and what to expect, and making sure everyone's safe while they do this.
Have you named these trail sections, Jay? Because you have some very creative name sections. I can imagine these could, spawn some very creative names.
I appreciate that. I'm not the creative one. I'm just the guy that sits back and laughs with the names that they come up with. So yes, there's some interesting name sections. And I think that's it on that one. And of course, it's amazing what motivated volunteers can do. What we can accomplish. It's and right now we've got a lot of energy. A lot of people are excited about building new trails.
We're going to spend a lot more money on less enjoyable things. So see what we can do about this.
So sorry for the speed run through. I know that you guys have this information at your fingertips, include some web links, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
I wanted to make one important point, I think, about the partnership that the ports enjoyed with the Trail Alliance for a long time. Especially as it relates to grants. It is, relatively easy to get a grant to build a new trail. And nobody funds maintenance.
Okay.
And it's really, I think, critical to understand that Northwest Trail Alliance has maintained every trail that they have built for us. We have not had to budget any expenditures thus far for port staff. there's no added responsibilities to say yes to these projects because they have the volunteers that do the trail maintenance work. And that's just really important. I think when anybody in any gorge tourism sector, industry or business is creating a new destination, especially as a public agency, we always have to think about long-term maintenance. And it's critical that the users of these new sites step up, volunteer, take care of the cleanup days, take care of all of the sites that they use, that the community hosts them at. And I just think Northwest Trail Alliance has just perfectly managed that for us. And it's been a tremendous help. And so the maintenance part of it, the ongoing maintenance part of it, the fact that the volunteers step up is the reason that these trails happen, because it's very hard to say yes to a new and wonderful thing if you don't have a way to maintain it in the long run. So I just wanted to say that the maintenance part is something that we really need to understand is a huge service to our community from your volunteers.
I do have a related legal question. I know that state law has changed recently about liability of improved and unimproved trails,
Yeah.
especially, government entities.
Recreational community stuff.
Yeah,
So,
Think about that?
yeah, the quick of it is, there was a case, last year, I think, that kind of unraveled some of what we refer to as recreational immunity. And the legislative session that just concluded, they came up with a kind of short-term fix for that to restore that immunity. I think, I don't know why they call it temporary. I think there's more to come, and they have a kind of a bigger plan to really make it robust. But you theoretically are in the same place you could have been before that court case and have that immunity, even if there are developed trails.
I think I heard of the SCAO, it was they were saying some entities, ports and things like that were closing
They were,
docks and
Right.
trails and things
Yeah,
like that
cities
because
did.
of the potential liability. And I'm all for trails, but I am always concerned about,
Long-term.
Me and Tommy definitely sat down and talked through that, so
Yeah.
he helped us better understand sort of what our liability was gonna be in that, or what our risk was in it. I want to put you on the spot, but I felt comfortable with where our risk was at that point. It certainly is helpful that the legislators have added it back into us and got us back to where we started from. It was an interesting case where someone was going from their car to the beach being where they would recreate, the trail they were walking on being the path to get to recreation, and it sort of become a discussion of, were you on a path to go recreate, or were you immediately recreating when you got on a trail? And so, I think it was a little convoluted and a bit blown up, but we're certainly happy to see the legislators fix it for us.
And I think Governor Kotek signed that
yeah.
like last
wow.
So using your own risk.
week.
you should always use it in your own rights.
Yes.
Yeah, and the port has some distance now, even though. Because it's opening up the land for recreation, so it fits within that statutory protection.
Okay.
Yeah, the other thing I want to point out too, and you reiterated it, but the 15 years, and that's some of this today, like this is a long-standing relationship, one of our longest that continues. And so I would like to see more presentations. I believe that there's a group of citizens in this town and the commission right now that can help move this up another level. Like with all the work that you guys have done and for this community and for the people in it, I still think there's a select small group of folks here that don't necessarily know where all the trails are and that they're available. And that there's been a group of people that are maintaining those. And I think some of that has just come because this commission, or we've gotten so comfortable with like, oh yeah, Northwest Trail Lines are a great partner, right? But a bunch of new faces here and new faces coming to the community. Yeah, I want you guys to be spoken in the same sort of conversations which we talked about Gorge Canoe Club, right? That there's a group of folks that are really taking advantage of what you guys are bringing. So we wanted to get you in front of you guys just to make that sort of connection. You're a Cascade Locks resident. We see you around town. Like we really want to help grow that because it's an amazing relationship and a super benefit to the Cascade Locks.
I have a couple of questions.
Yeah.
Other than this lap quest, what other events are currently on the calendar for the year?
We have a big camp out, that's on the May 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And that camp out is at Wyatt Campground. First night will be a night ride, and then we end up doing trail work the following day, and then we'll probably do another ride probably on the trails that we'll build. So kind of work and ride and social, so that's good. And Lab Quest is a big one, but other than that, that's all we've got kind of scheduled at this point as big events. There's more community type of things, and that's usually, night rides, things like that get posted. Night rides aren't right in summer, obviously. But different ride things pop on the calendar, so nothing super official at this point.
Is there recall some sort of event, I guess it was October of last year?
Cycle press, that's a unaffiliated.
Unaffiliated, oh, okay. And then Genevieve, you had mentioned that there's grants out there for this.
Right.
Would the idea be that we pay for it or that we find a grant for it?
For the 14,000, I think it's either, and depending on your budgetary constraints. Visit Hood River does have a grant cycle open right now, and this would probably be a good match for that. What we would apply to, what the Oregon Parks and Recreation Department funded the project that's currently underway, those 3 miles that are gonna be done by the pro team that Todd mentioned. We do expect to apply again with your approval for the phase 2 project, and they welcome that. Chris Bernhardt is the project manager for that section of the trail, and Ptarmigan Trails is the contractor. They are both very well known and well regarded by Oregon Parks and Recreation Department. There's a lot of trust there. They're excited to fund projects that they run because they know the results be good. So yes, do expect more grant funding going forward. This is kind of a unique, it's sort of a unique ask based on, hey, we've got the machines in town now. We've got the environmental clearances done. We've got all of these stars kind of aligned, but we need, a small amount of cash to make this enhancement happen. We already did apply for $19,000 grant from the Regional Destination Marketing Organization, which is different than the chamber. And we're waiting for an answer on that, but that was for the restroom at Harbin Road.
Right.
So I'd be happy to submit an application to fund this. I'm not quite sure what the timeline would be, if it would be here in time, but so the answer is yes, if you want.
Is it possible, say the timeline isn't quite, isn't the best for the fact that they have equipment here and that sort of thing? Is it possible we get reimbursed if the port?
Not for any expenditures before approval, unfortunately, and that's kind of just a universal rule, if you have to wait for your notice to proceed from the funder before you spend anything, but.
All right,
Yeah.
awesome.
Ted,
Either way, I think a good project.
I had a question. Thanks again for your work on that. I think I've worked a few times with Matt already. But I really appreciate the work you guys do, and I'd like to see the board continue supporting what you guys do for us. As far as the RTP grant, have you guys used all those funds yet? There's a certain time frame you have to use that by?
Yeah, all that money's already dedicated. That's for the new trail. $150,000 that we got for that RTP grant, and that was already allocated for the pro build that's already started.
Okay, great. And then the other thing is, and I don't know if this is the right organization, but considering that we're expanding the trail network, the CAT bus, the Columbia Area Transit Bus, is starting to look at new locations for next year. But has your organization reached out to them to see maybe having one at the campground? Or,
That'd be interesting. That'd be interesting discussion. There's two different, it wouldn't be at the Wyatt campground because the parking lot's too small, but it might be with the state parks. That's the larger parking. But I've been there already a few times and seen that that's already at max capacity, so I'm not for sure. But no, I have not, but that's an interesting thing. I know we did that with the Hood River, the Mountain Hood bus that runs up to the lodge. They were stopping at Sandy Ridge, another mountain biking trail that we built, because we had so many different riders coming through, so that was. Yes, it's
I've
not.
seen on the bus, some of these buses do have like 3 bike storage racks in the front of the bus.
Correct.
it seems like Cascade Lots could become a hub for mountain biking, like you see in Ashland, Oregon, or something like that.
Yeah,
You know,
Yeah.
get around.
that's a great suggestion. Great suggestion.
Well, thank you, this is, been good to hear about it.
Yeah, if anyone has any questions, if you dive into that, we appreciate you email, I'm happy to chat. I love talking trails.
Thanks for all your work.
Do we need to put this in the-
No, we'll provide you a staff recommendation at your next meeting, and we'll look into the grant opportunities that might offset.
I don't wanna lose the
that.
machine.
Yeah.
Don't wanna lose the machine.
Don't lose the machines, yeah.
And you need rocks is a whole
Yeah.
lot of stuff by us.
Yeah, big rocks. Big rocks. A lot of them.
There we go, we love it.
They'd be happy to, they'd probably almost pay you to take them.
That's one thing we can look at.
Like I say, I always love to come in under budget, so.
Okay.
Yes, it's-
Source the rocks.
Thanks,
Thanks,
I
Ed.
appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Have a good one.
Second, letter of support for special district grant accessibility act.
We're gonna have to let Dan Marr give us the rundown on that one today.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. He was whistling at you.
President Lorang, members of the commission, thanks for having me in tonight. Of course, for the record, my name is Dan Marr. I am your government affairs consultant. Here to present an item for your consideration, whether to send a letter of support to Congressman Blumenauer on House Resolution 7525, the Special District Grant Accessibility Act. And so this is a priority of the Special Districts Association of Oregon, their parent group, the National Special Districts Coalition, who advocate in Washington DC for issues related to special districts. And of course, the quick reminder on special districts, the Port of Cascade Locks is one of them. These are smaller units of government, of course, that have their own geographical boundaries, taxing districts and resources that cover that provide services not provided by other units of governments like cities, counties, states, etc. So ports are obviously a relevant example of this, but also wastewater districts, conservation districts like soil and water districts, irrigation districts, transit districts, you name it. And so what House Resolution 7525 would do would be to establish at the federal level a specific definition of a special district. The two-part bill first would require that special district definition to be created. And then the second part would be implementing that with that definition with the individual agencies. And so the idea behind this is, of course, a number of federal agencies that grant money into the states. Some of that money comes through formulas, some of it is competitive. And, you know, certain special districts are written into laws and have specific places in the agencies. Ports were pretty well represented within the constellation of federal agencies. There are marine administration programs, environmental protection agency programs. USDA Rural Development has programs that we can apply to. Not all special districts enjoy those luxuries, and so the idea is this bill would level the playing field. And so establish the formal definition and then direct the Office of Management and Budget to work with the individual agencies to kind of go through their programs and help them come up with kind of their the how-to and how they would deal with special districts and which of their programs those folks would be eligible for. So the letter that we would be sending would go specifically to Congressman Blumenauer. Of course, he's our local member of the U.S. House of Representatives here. He is retiring at the end of this term, so he just has through the end of the year here. The bill itself has passed the House Oversight and Accountability Committee, a robust 38-2 passage. So found good support. It's a bipartisan bill. There are only a handful of co-sponsors, which isn't necessarily an indication of a lack of support for the bill. You know, the way co-sponsorship is handled kind of depends on the bill and what its sponsors want to portray. So 38-2 vote shows great support. There's a good chance if this thing makes it to the House floor, it would pass. The question right now is, will it make it to the House floor? Legislative time for the rest of the year is pretty short. Congress is on their Easter recess now. They'll go back into session as week next week. There's a couple shorter recesses during the summer, and then it's election time. So time is certainly of the essence if they want to get this bill through the House. So we drafted up SDAO sent over a template letter. I personalized it a bit and didn't make it into the packet tonight, but it's there, and we can present that to you all for your look. Happy to edit that further. And I guess really take any questions you may have about this.
Perfect. Well, I'm all in support of it. Anything the special districts wants, let's give it to them. Do we need a motion? And all of
I
that?
think we can find a consensus on this one, that we'd like to do a lot of support.
Yeah,
I agree. Sure. I think it's,
absolutely.
as a board, I think it's good for us to take the lead on this, or when we go to those SDAO conferences and you start meeting some of the other smaller districts, understanding some of the challenges that they have. We feel very lucky to be included in a lot of opportunities that they're like having. So if this is helpful for that, I think that's a good move on our part.
Yeah, fortunate to have a couple of different dedicated funds at the federal level, specifically for small ports and for things related to that. Other districts are not, as you said, not quite so well known and get under the radar a little bit, I think.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, especially the two big COVID relief packages, the CARES Act and ARPA, the American Rescue Plan. When those packages were being debated, I was working for a member of Congress at that time. We got a lot of calls from STAO and other districts concerned that special districts were being left out of those programs. And so special districts really did get short shrift. And especially with ARPA, it came down to state by state decisions on who got what funding. Fortunately, here in the state of Oregon, the governor and the powers that be did decide to pass some of that money through special districts. But I don't think that in other states, folks were quite as fortunate.
Sure, awesome.
That work?
Wonderful. Thanks for having me.
Thanks.
All right, executive session, next, executive session under OR 119-6602. So I will read the necessary verbiage. The Port of Cascade Locks Commission will now meet in executive session pursuant to RS 192.6602E, 2F, and 2H, which allows the commission to meet in executive session to conduct deliberations with persons designated by governing body to negotiate real property transactions, to consider information on records that are exempt by law from public inspection, to consult with legal counsel regarding pending litigation. Representatives of the news media are designated, and designated staff will be allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience are asked to leave the room. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on or otherwise disclose any of the deliberations or anything said about these subjects during the executive session, except to state general subject of the session as previously announced. No decision may be made in the executive session. At the end of the executive session, we will return to open session and welcome the audience back into the room. That is it. We're going to recess briefly to allow people to exit and to put people in the waiting room. Welcome back. We will be working on some business action items next. Let's see. I think are we considering the intergovernmental agreement between the city and the port?
That's correct. So there has been a project out in the business park that this commission and the previous commission been considering for a long time, which was an upgrade to the power system out there. This commission had an opportunity to dig into it fairly heavily when we were post the data center that had potential to go out there. And we started really looking at what we needed out there. At one point in time, we were looking at upgrades that were in excess of $1.3 million. We didn't have a tenant currently out there that would need that sort of redundancy or that scale of power. So we have kind of walked back what is going to happen out there. There's going to be $110,000 investment from the port, and it goes directly to the city in order to help them finish this project, start and finish this project. And most of their funding comes from an EDA grant. As part of that EDA grant, it's a requirement for a legally binding agreement between the city and the port. The agreement guarantees that the port's intended function in providing power for the economic development and the business park for the full life of the project, so 20 years. The draft intergovernmental agreement fulfills all grant requirements. It was adopted by the city previously and is now before you. This has been reviewed by the port attorney. I think potentially you saw some draft intergovernmental agreements when we were talking about a bigger project out there. At that point, it kind of was a heavier lift. There was a little bit, a little bit more to be worked out there on how the port would recoup its money. That's not something we're looking to do with this intergovernmental agreement. If you guys have any questions, you can answer those. Or it comes before you for consideration.
If anybody has any questions, jump out there. Otherwise, we will, I would,
Note that it was part of our budget already, so we have the funds. I just wanted to mention that publicly. To make sure that was recorded as well.
Okay.
So I would make a motion to approve the intergovernmental agreement between the city of Cascade Locks and the port of Cascade Locks as presented.
I'll second that motion as stated.
okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the intergovernmental agreement between the port and the city. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. All right. Next, adopt charge for Bridge of the Gods Centennial Celebration Advisory.
That extra page. The actual charge is off.
We have a. No.
So this came up at the last meeting. It's something that's been a discussion amongst you guys in a few different meetings about what we were going to do for the 100-year celebration coming up in 2026. I know there's been a few ideas that have been floated by commissioners here and previous commissioners. I believe it was Carrie that suggested that we add a advisory committee to work on that for the next couple of years. Got a general consensus with the commission that they would like us to do that. So we've gone and created a charge for that committee. The Bridge of God will be celebrating 100 years of service for this remarkable occasion. The celebration committee is entrusted with the critical task of commemorating this significant milestone. My recommendation would be to create this subcommittee. It would be 2 port commissioners and 3 citizens as well. These are public meetings, so they will be available to be attended by citizens. Carrie Ann will be keeping minutes on those meetings, or maybe me, one of us will. But I think that's a good first step.
They have to meet.
That's entirely up to the.
I think at first, maybe very occasionally, and like maybe only monthly. Or every other month until we start picking up steam, just to lay the groundwork and get some ideas flowing.
I think that will probably be one of the first things that committee solves, is how often do you meet?
Okay, yeah, sounds like a good idea.
Is anybody else
I know,
interested?
I know, John Stippen was very excited about the idea of,
I talked to him at the meeting. He wants to be on the subcommittee
okay, perfect.
at the museum meeting.
I actually just wrote a note. I would only approve this if John Stippen was.
He wants to,
So,
yeah, he would like to volunteer as well.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah, I think flying a plane under there and maybe some bungee jumping might be.
At the same time.
Please no.
Love it. Okay.
So we need a motion to approve the charge, as well as, the creation of this
Do we
subcommittee.
have to advertise the subcommittee open positions?
I think so.
There's no formal process, so you
Yeah.
can appoint
Whatever
whoever,
you can appoint.
whatever you think is the best way to
Right.
drum up interest.
So today, if we want to, we will need two commissioners. Sounds like we've got one for sure. We need a second one. We also, if you guys also could appoint citizens who express interest on it, we could appoint John Stiff today, if that's something we want to do. I'm going to talk to him first, but we could move this.
Just volunteer
You've been voluntold, sir.
Voluntold.
All right. Well,
I will make a motion to establish the Bridge of the Gods Centennial Celebration Advisory Committee and appoint 2 commissioners as members, including myself.
I'll second the motion.
okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the Bridge of the Gods Centennial Celebration Advisory Committee. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Who's gonna be
All
the
right.
second commissioner? You?
Yeah, I'm happy to do it.
I was gonna nominate Pam since she's not here.
I would like to, I noticed driving towards Washington on the Bridge of the Gods, you barely see the Welcome to Washington sign on there, so we should probably do that before it's.
Yeah.
You should maybe try to do some of those nice upgrades prior to
Yeah.
the big celebration, so.
Lights.
Yeah.
Nice.
They're working on grants.
We're on it.
All right, approve updated pricing for the campground.
Come on up, Park. Again, we'll do this somewhat.
Parker Nelson.
I don't know that we have a report to present to you, right? We've had opportunity now to look at this twice, giving the commission another couple of weeks to sit on it. When we left previously, we were settling somewhere between $8 and $12 for an increase. Before that was sort of agreed upon by everyone. One commissioner said, you know, I'd be closer to 5. Another commissioner said I'd be closer to 15. So we may be 5 and 15 or 8 and 20. Did you say that? I apologize. 20. So I think there's still some work for us to do this evening to talk for the commission to discuss where they really feel like they want this pricing to be. We have in our recommendation left that percentage open. I continue to believe that my recommendation is $75 is fair market. Based on its location, based on the amenities that it provides and how it is different from other campgrounds. However, I certainly understand all the feedback I've gotten from the commission and left that blank open for you guys to come up with a figure that you feel is adequate. I have also included a 5% increase that you guys review yearly. I think that if we get on a cycle where every year it goes up 5%, and you guys have the opportunity to say, yeah, let's not do it this year, or yes, let's do it this year, this speeds up the process considerably as me coming to you and saying, hey, now I have the ability to forecast and I have numbers to work with, instead of having to come and revisit this every year. So I would like whatever your increase is, whether it's $0 or $20, that we at least include that there's a 5% increase every year that you guys revisit yearly. It was pointed out to me that I don't have in your packet what the actual sites go for. So let's jot that down real quick so we all make sure we have the same numbers that we're working with. Sites 2 through 12 are $41. Sites 13 through 15 are did I say 31? I said 41, right?
41.
Yes, correct. Sites 13 through 15 are 31.
Or $30?
$31. Showers are $5. Hyper PCT campers are $5 and CGRA is $10. Do we have
Per tent.
per tent?
Per tent, as many people they bring big tent, right? Big tents.
The current tent campaign is how much?
Everyone.
For PC, for
31.
just normal campers, $31.
Well, that's just the non-electric sites are $30.
Those are electrified. They have
Okay.
They have
electricity
electric.
involved. Each camper or in those sites, the camping sites, 13 through 15.
They're just not big enough to hold RVs, just tents only.
They can hold small RVs. I'm not entirely sure why those were ever designated as
camping or tent sites only, they get used enough as that's why they
Like
say
a
that.
camper van could fit in them.
Yeah, and we allow that, camper vans come in, I've seen where people have a camper on a truck there, but they also put up tents. And we allow that there as well.
So sites 2 through 12, $41 for RVs, right? Okay.
That's correct.
At 31 for tents currently. Okay.
None of them have sewer. Except for Laurel's.
Oh, I thought they did turn number 4.
Laurel's has sewer, because sites will say it's 2 and 1.
I'm just one thing.
So what are we doing?
So our discussion now is where the previous discussion left off, which was some of us are comfortable around $5, some of us are closer to $20. And we will need a motion and a vote to increase pricing in the campground.
And
that's
the
something
original
we choose to do.
suggestion was
Considerably more than
up to 75, I believe,
75 is what,
for 2 to 12.
correct?
And the plus $1 pays for flybook,
That's, yeah.
that's the $1 additional that you see, so that's what that's good for.
That's very easy math, I guess.
Yeah,
There's,
that was, I think, I believe the last commission adopted that when they came to them with the ability to, or the ask if they could have a flybook or the CRM like that, that could manage the campground.
so some of the stuff that you guys, if you take a look at the recommendation on page 14, you did agree on a number of things. You talked about a processing fee, you talked about the hiker biker rate, you talked about a camping rate, including showers with all camping versus paying, right? So the things that this commission was able to agree on, we've worked into the recommendation. We really are stuck on where it says specify amounts.
Does the 31 and 41 include showers now?
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's really where we are now, is a specification of that amount. If the commission would like another recommendation for me, I'm between 5 and 20. Mine was 75, I'm going to lean towards 20. But I understand the reason, I understand the reasons that you've expressed not wanting to be that high, and Pam's expressed, like, it wasn't a single person, like, this was a discussion, so.
Yeah, I could get on board with that. I would maybe get on board with a 1% increase for whatever we want. And do service increases.
Yeah, my concern.
Why
is
we're looking at
$2.
Yeah, I think that's
Already, I
Oh,
think
75.
I don't think our
Yeah,
prices should increase that much. I mean,
But
51.
50,
the
51,
75,000 KOA has sewer hookups, they've got
Each site
pool,
by
they've got
$10.
store and a
Yeah.
clubhouse.
well, 51 and 41. How about that?
The high limit
We'll,
would be 55.
we'll increase each of the sites by $10, so $51 for the RV site and 41 for the tent site. And then as we had already agreed on, $10 for the PCT hikers, well, what it's got written down here. And then I think a 5% increase per year is, a good, good starter.
So the direction we would go on this is we would have someone make a motion, the motion would get seconded, it would open up for discussion and then a vote.
Yeah, okay,
Not that we can't have this discussion before, but we want to
I
make sure
can't
we
make
get
a
a
motion, so.
In the motion, do you want to list prices for each of these for RVs, tents, showers, and CGRA?
correct.
So let's propose for shower again. To go to $10.
We combine PCT, hiker, biker, showers, make it all one $10 charge.
And then the CGRA would change to 25.
Yeah, that's correct.
All right, I'll make a motion to increase campground rates for sites 2 through 12 to $51. Sites 13 through 15 to $41, which are tent sites with electricity. Showers to $10 for hikers and bikers. And CGRA campsites to $25 per night.
I'll second that.
Right, we have a motion, and a second.
We can discuss now.
$7 processing fee on all transactions.
And also, $7 processing fee for first night stays. And implement a yearly increase of 5% pay reviewed and approved by the commission annually.
So modify the motion, and you accept the modifications, all right, I won't repeat that, I think everybody's got that,
Can we just one clarifying question for staff? Commissioner Peterson mentioned $10 fee for showers. Staff is proposing that the hiker biker rate be $10 and include a shower. So it's $10 for both the camping and the shower. Is that?
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
thank you.
what I proposed.
and $51, $41, yes, and 5% increase per year, $7 processing fee on first night stays. Yes, so
Okay.
So in the CGRA one, that's $25 per tent that they use, or?
that's right.
Okay,
It's kind of a group site, isn't it, of all those. But, yeah,
We allow them to camp on the space between House 3 lawn and the boat ramp access road. So they camp that space there. Generally, we're right above the sewer treatment facility.
okay.
And then we'll let them go all the way down
Do we
around
have
the
a
corner.
different rate for upwind or downwind?
I know it's a good site, smells of wood.
biggest difference for like a PCT hiker versus CGRA, is it because CGRA brings giant tents and?
Yes.
As PCT hikers tend to be single tents,
Right.
personal themselves.
Okay.
Tents, we can fit a lot of them, they all get placed in the lawn right next to House 2.
Right outside my window.
Yep. We can sure pack a lot more of them in there than we ever can with the CGRA sites.
And just to clarify, we refer to them as PCT hikers, so that's mostly what they are, but anybody who comes into our park by foot or by bike gets that
Along
rate.
with the new bike trail will probably be attracting more of that as well.
Just one other question. Did you want to consider a holiday upcharge for 4th of July weekend, Memorial Day?
Occasionally, we're sold out during the holidays, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. How do you guys feel about a $5 holiday surcharge?
I think we could charge more than that. I mean, holiday surcharges, I don't mind. It's just normal camping charges that I don't get behind.
Do you wanna go $10 then? Holiday surcharge?
Okay.
Okay, I make a motion to amend the stated motion to also add a $10 holiday surcharge.
I second
All right. The amended motion has been motioned and seconded, so,
Discussion.
all those, is that clear?
You want to open the floor for discussion, Brad?
We're getting creative here.
Want to open the floor for discussion before we take a vote?
With that,
Discussion before we vote?
do we need any more discussion? Anybody have more discussion about it?
I know for me personally, I wanna keep camping affordable, so like some of this I can get behind, but not all of it. So my vote at this point would not be positive, if it was to encompass the whole thing. I can see, the PCT hiker biker rate because that includes the showers, so, it really doesn't change for them. The CGRA group, that is fine, that's still pretty affordable camping. But just based on my personal experiences with campsites that have similar amenities and stuff, I can't see raising our rates too much. Like I can maybe get behind a 5% a year annual increase, starting with our current rates and adding 5% this year and 5% next year, and potentially, and continuing to review it, but increasing it by $10 all at once. I know it's not $25 like or $30 like we wanted to, but again, I'm just a proponent of affordable camping, and this is not like something that's been a big revenue generator for us in the first place, and I don't think we're gonna, try to get off of bridge tolls by increasing camping prices, so I'm in favor of providing this as a service to our community. More so than anything.
Okay,
But our community doesn't use it as often as outsiders do.
Right, but our community benefits from the outsiders coming to here.
Exactly.
So,
So that's why I think it would be beneficial to increase it. And for me, given the amenities, the walkability, the views, given the notes from the staff, as well as the camp host, given the increased usage and just the increased costs that come, obviously, we're not gonna get bridge tolls, but the increased cost that we have just in the park itself. I personally think, and even looking at the secret together, I think that it can be even more than that, but if it can only be, if we agree to the 51, I'll vote for it.
well, any further discussion?
I'm
All
happy, I'm happy with the pricing, a little bit of a sticker shock with the $75 proposal, but I think. With these additional fees, like $7 processing fee for the first night and the holiday surcharge, you can kind of recuperate. Room in the budget to take some money on the first night. So, but I think the current stated pricing, proposed pricing is a fair increase, so.
All right, well, that being said, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion passes.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, Art, we're gonna have you back up here in just a second.
Oh,
that's
all right. That means you know. All right. Executive Director report.
I'll have Parker give us some update on what's happening in operations as well as the bridge move.
That's throwing me off.
Oh, sorry.
We'll start with the bridge. We'll start with the bridge. So the bridge is going very well. We are gonna come in over budget, I believe. We haven't done the final numbers on things, but I do think we're gonna come in a bit over budget. Even with our contingency, I think we may come in slightly over.
Was that well?
Well, we'll get to the next portion. I think we're gonna be close on it. I don't think it will be much, but we had some contractors that didn't update their quotes in a very quick manner while we were reducing our contingencies. And we got a quote back, an updated quote back due to the change of their scope of work and just saw a decent amount of an increase. Not anything horrible. And so just to do preparation, I think we've gone into this thinking we were gonna come in under budget. I'd like to prepare everybody that I think we'll be just slightly at or above.
Okay.
And then on to that, we finished almost all of the concrete repairs this week. The maintenance guys got our port maintenance guys got the conduit area dug up in preparation for re-energizing the electrical line to the island with the new island feed disconnect as well. So if we ever have any sort of emergencies on the island in the future, there is one lever right there that somebody can pull to shut the power down.
And that's unlocked as well.
Yeah, it will be unlocked, or it will be accessible. There was probably some sort of lock on it that we will have control over. And so we are right on track with our timeline. It's all looking very well. And we have the handrail going in tomorrow and Thursday. We expect it to be done by midday Thursday. That will bring the island back to a safe condition for anyone to cross over back and forth. And then we're moving on to water line, electrical line, and inspections after that. And so we're on track for our April 15th projected date of opening, and we're looking great still for our weddings of May 4th.
And just to clarify, when he says over budget, these were projected costs. This was all procured under, this was all done under emergency procurement and it's gonna be reimbursed by insurance. So although I certainly appreciate you following the costs on it so closely, this isn't something that we've gone over budget. It just has gone over what our expected costs were on it.
Poor choice of words, oh my.
No, you're fine. I just want to make sure that when it hits the right, that we didn't go over budget. There was no budget for this. This is what we think it's gonna cost, and this is what we're gonna tell the insurance, and they there's contingency in place, and they know that no matter what, that bridge has to go back and be put in place. It certainly is cheaper than replacing that bridge was, so
That is
Just
very true,
clarification.
and the timelines would have never.
But I like much watching your budget. That is very reassuring.
Yeah, when you said the electric lever won't be locked, where's it gonna live again?
So there's a nice oak tree that is kind of directly across from the parking lot, or in between the parking lot for the pedestrian bridge and the museum. And there's a big green box right there as well.
Okay.
If you can visually remember where it's at there, but it's.
So as long as it's not like a big switch that says, turn off island.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, it was
That's
just,
what I
it looked like a meter. It's
Yeah.
gonna look like a meter box.
Okay,
The small meter box, currently the way that has to get shut off is we call City Electric here in Cascade Locks, and they come in and use a pole.
Yeah.
To shut this place down. It was kind of an endeavor to get the power shut off there. And so it feels good to have a little more knowledge and control over our power on the island.
Regarding the day they lifted, the bridge with the tri-lifters, there was some damage to the parking lot. That's some of our new unexpected costs.
Yeah,
Okay.
that'll be it. That's part of it too. And then the liability on that lies on us.
And it sounds like we'll be doing those repairs in-house,
Is the plan to repave the whole parking lot or just patchwork?
just that patchwork.
Yeah.
And we'll be reimbursed for that as well.
Yeah, and then we've been tracking our team's maintenance time on this project as well, so we'll be reimbursed for those costs. And, yeah, in regards to the concrete fix out there, we've gone out, that's kind of our biggest dilemma in this whole thing. But we went out, Todd and I mapped out where they think they'd like to cut the old asphalt away and create a square space that could be then bagged and refilled. I feel confident in our team's ability to get it done in time.
Great.
thanks.
And yeah, that's it. We have some other operational stuff, but it's been very basic.
Fantastic. Thank you, Parker.
Thank you.
We'll let Genevieve update us on grant work.
Let's do a little bit of a grants update for you. As I mentioned earlier, we are waiting a decision from the Mount Hood, Experience Mount Hood and the Gorge, $19,000 grant ask, which will basically split the cost of the pitch required for the Harvey Road restroom facility. We expect to hear an answer on that request this week. Also coming up in April, we have our next quarterly report for the ARPA grant. And so all of the work that is happening at the dry dock, on the stern wheeler happening right now, we'll be reporting on that work to them April 15th. We are working on finishing the order of the restroom for that local government grant program, that was sent to the vendor today. As Ted mentioned on the recreational trails program grant, we are way ahead on the volunteer side of the match. However, I do want to clarify and make sure that you knew that the contract that came in from the bidding process for the pro side of that was about $30,000 more than the grant project budget allowed for. So we do have to come up with some additional money for that project and that contract. So I'll have you think about that as you're considering the $14,000 ask on the Easy Climb improvements. Both of those projects could be a good applicant for the Chamber's small grant program. But that is generally tends more towards marketing and promotion, wayfinding signage, this sort of a thing. So I don't know how good of a match it is, but just want to manage your expectations there. Dan Marr, he's not here anymore. I want to thank him. He and I did a lot of research, and Dan did a lot of really good outreach on the federal level for the Port Infrastructure Development Program. We were investigating potentially making an application for shore power and other hardening and infrastructure improvements to the marina in anticipation of the ACL dock project. Thanks to Dan's direct outreach to contacts in DC, we were able to get clarification that our project would not be funded because while passenger vessels are allowed in the projects, there has to also be cargo. And we're only passengers, not also cargo. So something to look forward to if we do eventually have a cargo use at our dock, but, we're ending that process at this point. At your next meeting in April, we'll be asking your permission for potentially 2 applications to the Oregon Emergency Management Office's Resilience Hubs and Networks Program. And this is following on Commissioner Nance's advocacy for the generator in response to our prolonged power outage in January during the blizzard. And so communities can and are encouraged to submit more than 1 application. Following up on the provision of that large generator, in order to be able to use it, we need to, as Parker, you might have to help me with the nomenclature. We have to install a transmitter switch.
Transfer switch.
Transfer switch, and that involves some labor and wiring costs that we're guessing would be probably around 30,000 total.
Yeah, the numbers I got were based off quotes from last year.
Okay.
It's
So
closer to
maybe closer to
20,000.
40, which is an eligible project that we can apply to this grant for. There is no match requirement. They are really well funded, and this is a perfect match for that program. They also encourage, like I said, multiple grant applications from communities. And one of the things that they really are encouraging rural communities especially to apply for is something that they're calling a typed package. This is based on a model the emergency manager at Cannon Beach put together, anticipating tsunami disaster. It's basically a Connex box, multiple Connex boxes filled with disaster response supplies that the emergency manager in Cannon Beach placed up above the tsunami zone. So, you know, tsunami comes, everybody runs uphill and there's supplies waiting for you up there. And it's such a brilliant idea. The Oregon Office of Emergency Management has built basically these sort of modular packages that they're encouraging communities to apply for these. We spoke with Fire Chief Logan, and he was really interested. He looked at all of the specs and recommended a certain type of package that could be housed at the fire hall. So we'll be submitting an application for that as well. Again, it's the value of the dollar value of the supplies is over $100,000, and there's no match requirement. So we'll be asking for letters of support, certainly, from members of the community and our representatives in the state, and as well as our partners. The deadline to apply is April 30th. It's a very, very simple application. They are very clearly trying to make it easy for us to apply for this money, and so we're gonna go after it 2 different ways, so that's the update.
I'll touch base or touch on just a few items in each division. We're gonna see some new signage go up out in the business park. We've actually had it in Flex 6 for going on about a year. We weren't able to install it because we didn't have a backhoe. We do now have a backhoe. So you'll start to see new signs pop up at the business park. Also down at Easy Climb, we've got a big blow up the map. I don't know, the Easy Climb map used to be about this big. I think it's almost probably
The size of the kiosk
Yeah, it's
now.
almost 6 feet wide now.
Full kiosk.
So we'll see those start to pop up. We just continue to make more and more improvements out there on the recreational side of it. Those signs look great. We'll also see another kiosk popping up there shortly. We had an opportunity to meet with Bree Irish. She's the field representative for Senator Ron Wyden. She came in, we had a great discussion with her, had an opportunity to show her the different projects that the board is up to. Took a tour of the port, had a nice lunch. It was an excellent meeting with her. And throughout sort of our tour, she was able to point out a lot of areas where she thought that Senator would be supportive of, one specifically around workforce housing. So we'll continue to push forward on workforce housing, especially as the strategic business plan comes down. But it was great to hear from Bree that she thought that was an idea that the Senator should get behind if we needed that support. Something else that we've made some pretty good traction in the ground on, and again, I won't steal thunder on this because she's led this project the entire way, is the employee handbook.
Oh, yes.
Go ahead, let's just get a lot of work on that.
We're working on updates to our employee handbook, to bring, first of all, it up to code, for lack of a better words. There are, especially since COVID, there have been a number of new required notifications that need to be made to employees. And so we'll be presenting a draft copy for you to review in the next couple of months. Tommy has not seen it yet, so it's got to go through our legal review. Right now, it is under our HR consultants review at HR Answers, and we expect to get back from them with all of their recommended changes and edits in the next couple of weeks. Then we'll hand it off to Tommy, and we'll do his edits and changes, and then we'll have it for you to review. Our current employee manual is about 16 pages. This one is closer to 60, so it'll be a bit of a long read for you over a nice rainy weekend, and hopefully it will be, there will be several policy changes, including changes to paid holiday schedules, as for example, sick leave policies, and just soup to nuts. The whole thing is getting a whole new workover. So lots of work, but it'll make things much better for our employees.
Couple of things that we will see in there in this commission, we talked about it very early on, we're just now getting around to being able to have the staff to do it. With moving to that 4-10 schedule, this will, the 4-10 schedule, a lot of that will now be reflected in the employee handbook. Also, when the commission first came into place, there was generally some concerns about our handbook not being specific around some of our policies and needing to be a little bit stronger and longer and encompassing of where the direction of this board. Those are all things that have been touched as well. So I'm really excited for you guys to have an opportunity to look at it. I think it reflects very well what's currently happening at the port and sort of the vision you guys had when you came into leadership.
And kind of hand in hand in that, also we're reviewing everybody's job description and making updates to that to make sure that they properly reflect the work and the roles that each of the employees are doing. One of the changes there also is geared toward addressing some of the findings in the audit and separating some accounting flow duties in an appropriate way, which is actually already happening in practice, but it's not memorialized in the job descriptions. So we're just making sure that everybody's job description is up to date, current, and appropriately formatted and worded.
That's a feat in itself. I kind of update those before, and oh my gosh. Yes, those are fun.
16 to 60 pages. And it had been really
On there, so.
and there were just so many things in there that it just were no longer the practice of the board, and just for years we hadn't done it that particular way.
Right.
And so there was always, anytime we were doing training, it was like, actually, that's not correct, we're doing it this way. It was a long time coming. But again, it's a big project, so having the staff be able to do that has been great.
So be ready.
Yeah, it's pretty slam dunk. I mean, there's stuff for sure that you'll, but it's really good. Had an opportunity to meet with Landmass Wines, had some great conversations about them, about business development and retention. Also had an opportunity to hear out once again about some of the concerns they have about the wastewater treatment facility. I will say that the city responded back today and said that there is a digester, that if they do the digester, I don't know what that is, but if they do it more often, it shouldn't smell, right? And so now they're doing it a certain number of times, but if they do it more often, it should limit the amount of smell. The city wants to look and see, but to run the digester, there are costs associated with that. And so before they're committing to do that, they want to have a better understanding of what those costs will be. Landmass Wine is having a event out there on the 6th, in which they will have 100 people visiting their location, sampling their wines. The city has agreed to that day, which is interesting, not run the digester at all, which has the same effect. So if you don't run the digester, there's no smell. If you run it very often, it's just a little smell. So right now, they're just not doing it quite enough, but the plan for the 6th is we won't run it that day, so there will be no smell. So we appreciate the city doing that. It's a big day for Landmass. A lot of people out there.
They don't want to be read people last wines.
No.
That's exactly right. But we appreciate the city taking that concern seriously and finding ways to mitigate it. we're moving into a very busy April. We're tackling the budget here soon, so I want to make sure we point out on important dates that we have our first port budget committee Tuesday, April 9th. Also want to highlight the SDI filing deadline. We all done that? Please do that. Awesome, love it. You're gonna make Carrie Ann very happy, Genevieve as well. Port committee, April 16th, and then another budget committee, so you all surprised me and are interested in going to the elected official training relationship with your ED that SDAO had recommended. That falls on Saturday, the 20th, right? So if we want to add that to it as well. Brad, are you interested in participating in that? And is it too late, Carrie?
I would, except I'm already committed.
Okay.
That weekend.
So we'll have 4 commissioners at that training.
It's Zoom though.
It is Zoom. So I assume everybody wanted to do that. Zoom is in Portland.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, just remember there's gonna be 4 of us in there.
So
So we'll
that's
have-
April 20th, right?
Correct.
Okay, yeah, okay.
There'll be 4 commissioners in the room, so
List of important dates are.
So it'll be
we just,
part-
yeah. Is the 20th.
I didn't know it was optional, Carrie Ann.
I was really surprised, like, like quick, everybody's like, yep, into it, into it. There's some really good stuff in there, especially around subcommittees, which is something this commission kind of pulled back on. And now it's starting to see some value in it with the finance subcommittee, with the centennial. So being able to use those sort of at their highest beneficial use, as well as how to sort of navigate that. So I believe it's going to be a good training.
This is a discount on our insurance. Yeah.
And we certainly are glad about that.
The SCI finally needs to be by the 15th, right?
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. I also had an opportunity to meet with an interested tenant for the Flex 6 building. We sort of mapped out what their intended use for it would be. We have a meeting with me and Darren from Tennyson to go out and walk Flex 6 and talk about cold storage and where that may be located out there. A couple more ideas have been floated by this same person who's interested in the building, the same company that's interested in the building. So we'll look at a couple of different options with that. That is by far the warmest lead that I have at this time. There are a couple other things that we've looked at, but the timelines on those are considerably longer. So we will continue to work on Flex 6. I have high hopes that the meeting goes well this week or this month on that. All I got for you guys. I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right.
And I would like to thank the staff. We struggled through some sickness for the last couple of weeks. Boy, out. Carrie Ann, Joanne, like we got some real sick folks that put in some extra effort and missed some days. And when they missed some days, the rest of the team came together. So we were short-staffed a lot, and it was miserable for those folks. They looked awful and felt awful, and we felt for them. So thank you for everybody who covered, and thank you for those who worked through it.
And I like that Tommy's here, even though he was feeling run down.
Right. So my quote there is the staff looked awful, so let's make sure we get that. We can go back and watch. But I mean, we were rough, we were all in rough shape. It was a rough week, so.
All right, Commissioner comments.
All right, well, I don't need to go over Flex 6, you brought it, it's a copy of you. One thing I've noticed on our agendas recently, just kind of a minute thing, but are we not including public comment anymore for a reason?
So public comment is not required at every meeting. Typically what we were trying to move towards, and I think there is still a long-term goal to move towards this. We'll see. I'm still sort of filling this out, but the goal was to have a business meeting and an action meeting, right? So we got things presented to us, and then ones where we took actual action. The idea was that during the presentation, when we wouldn't take public comments because they hadn't heard anything yet to comment on, and we weren't making any decisions, and to include it in the ones anytime we were taking action.
Not like we didn't get any anyway, or it's just.
Yeah, and I left it out of this one because I felt like the length of this could push. That was all. I tend to think if anybody showed up on the top, we probably would have, so.
Right.
But
And then I know this was kind of the Northwest Trail Association, but I didn't want to bring it up in front of Ted. But does Easy Climb fall into developable land that in any way we might want to future build on? I'm cool with the idea of like building on it now and using it for that now, but what if I just would feel horrible and heartbroken if we decided to build on it because we're like.
Yeah, and I'm not aware of completely what all of our, I mean, some of it's gonna come down to what the grants that we used, the grants that they got, right? I mean, we're on the hook for some of it, but where that actual trail falls on buildable land, a lot of that's gonna fall so close to the sort of riparian area of
It's
the,
like the more of the stuff that's on the west, the loop part.
at top hill.
Yeah,
So I would say there could be some that we are
and it's far down the road before we ever think of breaking ground on anything anyway, so it's not a concern now. Just it kind of popped into my head, so I wrote it down while listening to the stuff, like putting all this effort into stuff when we have this grand vision that might include using that land to build on. Anyway, so that was just kind of the thought. Museum fundraising, I went to a fundraising committee, subcommittee on Saturday. So a couple updates out of that. Our annual prom, we decided to go ahead and postpone that until next February. There's just not a lot of time to plan it for May. There's a lot of events going on. And we want to turn it more into like a sweethearts type, Valentine's type of dance.
Cool.
So, and hopefully at the pavilion where we can, do alcohol sales, cause at the prom, apparently at the school, everybody was sneaking out to go drink in their cars. Like a real prom. But the museum didn't make any money off of that either, so the whole point is fundraising. So there's that, the pony party is scheduled for Saturday, July 6th. So it'll be 4th of July weekend, really big weekend with a lot of people in town. I think we're gonna try to get some vendors out to sell their wares, crafts and arts and whatnot, and turn it into a little art fest as well. To try to make it a little bit bigger and more exciting than it was last year. And then the Magical History Tour on the Stern Wheeler is October 5th, and that we discussed as a possible theme of a murder mystery. So do it kind of like Clue style where you have dress up.
Agatha Christie, who done it kind of thing.
Yeah, but like bring it back to that noir vibe where, you know, you've got Colonel Mustard and Mrs. Peacock and so that's kind of in the works.
that's cool. That was great.
Very cool.
Good. I'm gonna continue on the signage stuff. So, thanks to Carrie's partner, I just got an electric bike and I am cruising up and down, not through Easy Climb, but down to the park there a lot lately. And I noticed that the Pam Mendenbach sign is still at like 6. I'm wondering if we should put up a port contact there.
Yes, thank you.
Also the sign at Flex One building is old. It shows some old tints such as renewal workshop, which is not there anymore. I want to update that one. Also, to touch on the smell down there and that landmass brought up. I can't think of any words other than putrid and vile. We drove by it yesterday and it was almost vomit inducing. And today we drove by it again and it was terrible. It was not, but my wife literally almost threw up. It's that bad. So something
I
is
smelled it while I was down here visiting them too. So.
it's bad. A couple of the other things, continue on signage. I have no idea if this is gonna make an impact or what it would make an impact on, but
what if on the bridge right now, it's 15, right, miles per hour? Every time I go on there, I'm going 15, even 14, because I know I want to keep that bridge as long as possible. And the faster people go, the more damage it goes to the bridge.
Exactly right.
What if we lowered it to 10? Just consider it. There's nothing that we can do to police it, but at least some sort of mental.
Well, I mean, something to be, so there's like having 20 and 25 and 30, you're still gonna go at 25 and 30 even.
Well, there's
There's
actually studies that show if you have basically a closed loop system where you tell someone this is how fast you're going, and you're supposed to be going this fast, they'll actually slow down to the speed that they're supposed to be going, just like a force, right?
Gotcha.
So if we could do that, then we could potentially
And
save
it's
people. down.
cheaper than speed bumps.
Yeah, and you can't, I don't think we can get one on the bridge. But if we could do something like this, to actually slow people down, it might not make a huge impact, but if we're getting stop the wear and tear by a couple of years, I think that would be potentially worth it over the long haul. So there's that, originally we had a celebration yesterday, John sipping on that. That's one of the notes. And then speaking of Easy Climb, I know last time we talked about this, just there's a lot more usage that is happening down there. We have the 2 park benches, we have a swing, which is awesome. I was there actually Easter afternoon. And it was very apparent that someone actually had an Easter egg hunt party because there were eggs still left over and there was trash everywhere. So that is one of the byproducts of having more people go down there. I don't know if there's anything that we can do to potentially deter that, but there's definitely something that we need to keep in mind. My wife actually walked around and picked up trash for like 30 minutes. Yeah. But it was just literally from that party. So just something for us to just consider it moving forward.
We typically have, park would know better about it, but we typically have a routine in which we approach the cleanup of the park after a weekend. Once we hire on, folks for the summer, that increases the amount of times that we're able to make it through the park and out to the business park. But there's a lot of times that it requires somebody to call us in and say, hey, there was a mess out there. Otherwise, we're not gonna be out there until it's on our sort of normal loop.
Right.
But it does increase during the summer as we hire on.
Cool. I will say my daughter was very happy because there was leftover eggs with candy in them. She was able to find them. You found one today?
I found one today.
Yeah. Cool. So we didn't find them all.
So they were out in the park still?
Yeah. Right by the parking lot. Right by the parking lot right there.
They were at the parking lot today.
Sunday afternoon, it was like 5 or 6
As
o'clock.
long as nobody put gummies.
That one's gonna be hard. Like that one's probably one we aren't gonna get to until Monday.
Oh, for sure, it wasn't, oh, we need to clean that up after
Gotcha.
Easter, it was more just an awareness
Perfect.
that
No, that's
people are
great.
out there, people
Thank
are
you.
doing stuff. And it is part of having a place that people like to go to. Unfortunately, people litter, so. So those, definitely want to thank Ted Dodd, obviously, I go out there a lot. Easy Climb has definitely been something that I've appreciated since I've moved here. And to your point, I don't know if I personally could ever at this point say, let's pay vote for Easy Climb. That's just a no for me right now. I did also want to thank Dan Marr for his help, Free Irish for the meeting that we had last week, and also thank you to all of the staff. And thank you.
Yeah, that was great. That was a great event.
Yeah. I want to say a big thank you to our entire board staff. You guys have done a lot of moving and pivoting with all the different challenges we've had on short notice, and it seems like everything is coming together. Really happy to see the 2021 audit done. So we're getting the ball rolling, and hopefully we get the rest of the 2 done later this year. So yeah, thank you everybody for that. And so getting Marine Park, Thunder Island back in business, the stern wheeler starting up soon. I hear Exitapa is opening May 15th, so there'll be another dining option in Cascade Locks. A big thank you to obviously Northwest Trail Alliance, Ted Dodd and Matt Novak for their countless hours and all their volunteers, local and from the Portland area. We wouldn't have a trail system if it wasn't for that organization, so I think we should continue being a strong partner with them. Also, a big thank you to our new budget committee members, George, Brian and Diane. It's nice to see some fresh faces on the committee, and I just finished up SDAO budget trainings. So it's interesting to see it from the other side of the table. And also thank you to our camp host, Laurel, for handling the uptick in the campground season. It sounds like we have a good strategy there, and for revenue and budgeting and flexibility with the recent price increases. And that is all I have for now, so. Yeah.
Well, all I have to say is thank you for all of you, because you make my job easy, because you both said it all. The meeting for Irish was great, and with Dan Marr, and sharp. And sounds like she'll be a good asset for us in the future for some of our projects we got going. But I'm very thankful for you all, that both the staff that are putting up with everything and yeah, just things are great here.
Technically, do we have to thank Jeremiah and then Jeremiah still think it's?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
That'll be the word.
SEO training.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll delegate that, just the same way we delegate blame. So, but in the interest of time, I'll say thank to all of you, and we'll see you next time.
All right.
We're
It's
adjourned.
Tuesday.
It's Tuesday.